This finale was the best episode in the entire series. It was the most entertaining, but there are so many plot holes. And this didn't feel like a season finale to me. It felt like the first order, or it felt like a mid-season finale, but without any cliffhangers. Some of the plot points from previous episodes were buttoned up in a way, but some were left dangling for a possible second season, which I think is unlikely. HBO.com labeled this sixth episode as the series finale, but the network hasn't exactly canceled the series officially. There are so many plot holes that went unanswered. For instance, we know that Henry was shot early in the season. He was shot by Claire's dad, but I figured they'd tell us how and why and what happened after that in this, at least in this episode, and they didn't. It's left unanswered. And there's a wheelchair in the beginning of this scene and shoes that Henry's distraught over that he can't wear when he visits 14-year-old Claire, but it's just shrugged off. They don't tell us the meaning of this scene. And Henry said in episode 4 that he hasn't seen himself past the age of 42, but he's 42 in a few of these scenes in this finale. It's like, I don't know. Okay, here are the highlights. Henry and Claire go meet his dad. She hasn't met him up until this point, and their wedding is a few days away. And he himself hasn't seen his dad in a very long time. Of course, his dad is portrayed as an alcoholic. While there, they look at old photos of Henry's mom. Dad is charming. It goes well. Claire is very charismatic and very comfortable around his dad. Henry and Claire also go house hunting. And they go house hunting. They don't show us all of the homes that they have seen, but they show the one that Henry says, this is the one. I've seen our future. This is the one that we're going to be living in. And then he tells 28-year-old Henry to figure out to go find out what tonight's lottery numbers are, and that's how they're going to finance this house that they're buying. And then Henry hunts for tranquilizers that will keep him calm so that he doesn't disappear on his wedding day. And they really figured out a really great way at the end to keep Henry there and married, because we know that they're going to get married. We keep seeing Claire crying because she's constantly miscarrying. I believe she had 4 or 5 or 6 miscarriages. The days leading up to Claire and Henry's wedding day, Henry's afraid that he will disappear and leave her stranded at the altar. Claire is unbothered because she's confident that they will get married. It's weird because he should know what happens, shouldn't he? I mean, but he has a fear of doctors and refuses to go to the doctor. Claire tells him to go to the doctor, so does his dad. He makes it clear several times in this episode that he hates doctors. He's afraid that they might try to do a study on him and that he becomes a lab rat. But he does visit an old colleague from the library who has access to drugs. This colleague is HIV positive and takes several drugs a day. And Claire makes sure that Gomez follows Henry because she's worried. She doesn't know where he is jetting off to. So Gomez follows him there to see what he's up to. And by the time Gomez gets there, Henry is already taking some type of tranquilizer that knocks him unconscious. Henry goes through a series of time jumps until he finds Claire mourning another miscarriage. Claire's fetuses are time jumping. Claire is so distraught and she tells Henry to go away. She's so frustrated with him. He goes into another room and finds older Henry, who confesses to having a vasectomy to protect Claire from any more grief and miscarriages. Gomez and Henry's dad scatter to get Henry to the church on time so that he can get married. The wrong Henry, older Henry that has to use shoe polish to cover his gray hair, is the one who will have to show up because 28-year-old Henry isn't there. This Henry stays long enough to say his vows. So we end up seeing Henry and Claire get married. Older Henry, 42-year-old Henry, and Claire get married. And then later, Claire and Henry watch their wedding video. Earlier in the episode, Henry said he hated videos and cameras and so forth. But they do sit and watch the wedding video. He's groomed her long enough, this entire series, he's groomed her long enough that she believes they aren't meant to make each other happy. She says this with all the confidence in the world, that they're not together to make each other happy. They're together because it was meant to be, because it was inevitable. So they're married, and Henry stays long enough to enjoy the reception as well. Then, as the credits roll, Henry confesses that he got a vasectomy to Claire. She knows she's going to be fine because there's a younger version of Henry that hasn't gotten a vasectomy. And that's the end. This is what I mean. This did not feel like a season finale, and it definitely didn't feel like a series finale in the traditional sense. This felt like a mid-season finale. Again, there were only 6 episodes, so they were probably looking to extend it later on in the summer, maybe. So if this does get picked up for another season, there is a chance that Claire can still get pregnant by Henry. Hopefully, if it gets renewed. But even still, that doesn't mean that the fetus won't time jump. Again, this was the best episode of the season. I think this should have been the pilot, and the story should have sprung from there, sprung from Claire and Henry married. Henry, she's having miscarriages, and Henry's had a vasectomy, but she finds some way to stay in communication with the Henry that she actually never loved, the 28-year-old Henry. And maybe there could have been a love story from there, because the cringy Henry, 41-year-old Henry visiting baby Claire, it just spoiled the entire series, I think. I think it should have started with this finale and then let that be a springboard to for the series. It just felt like so many possibilities of engaging story from this episode. And again, the wheelchair, like, so much was unexplained. It seems like so much is left unanswered that, I don't know, maybe they'll have a podcast. I don't know. It just doesn't look like there's going to be a second season, but we'll have to see. Again, HBO has not made an official statement. It doesn't look like it's going to be renewed. Again, on HBO.com, it's considered the series finale. Now, last week, the season saw decent enough ratings, but on Sunday, the finale ranked 104th with 203,000 viewers. That's not awful for an HBO series, but this series didn't grow in viewership. On June 12th, it ranked 105 out of 150. On June 5th, it ranked 96th. On May 29th, it ranked 146. On May 22nd, even though it had 224 viewers, it didn't crack the top 150. The premiere ranked 93rd on May 15th with 294, and that was the night it had the most viewers. So the viewership depleted over the course of the season, and that's never a good sign. It's just continually declined ever since the series premiere. Now, Barry, a hit series on HBO, has a loyal audience. It captured more viewers than its lead-in. That's also not a great sign. The Time Traveler's Wife had fewer viewers as a lead-in to Barry, and Barry has already been renewed for season 4. So I'm just saying, it just doesn't look like The Time Traveler's Wife is going to get renewed, but we will see. Did you enjoy this series? I enjoyed a couple of episodes, but I just wish it went in a different direction. At any rate, thank you so much for sticking with me throughout these 6 episodes. I certainly appreciate you. Please consider liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. And until next time, peace.